Want to grow your business and take it to the next level? Well, here we all are, and we're going to show you how through hard work, perseverance, and a little help and know-how, you can take things to the next level and push the success of your business even further. Let's get going.
Hi everyone, Paul Wright here, and welcome to the next episode of the Practiceology Podcast. It's the science of helping allied health businesses run without you. And I've picked up Jason Wambold to join us on today's episode. Jason, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Now, Jason's no stranger to my invitations. I've had him on multiple things, but Jason's background, he has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, as well as a bachelor and master's degree in physical therapy. He has over 20 years of leadership experience in the rehab industry and in the US and across the world. And in 2016, he co-founded Onus One, which is an online employee compensation portal system that's currently being used in 31 states in the USA and expanding across the world. Jason is an internationally recognized expert in the implementation of alternative employee compensation models, which we'll talk about today. And he regularly speaks on the topic at national, state, and regional conferences. And he was also one of the key speakers on our Ultimate Recruitment, Retention, and Team Culture program with Judy Sorello. And you can find information about that at healthbusinessprofits.com/recruitment. So Jason, you're all fired up with a 7-minute format. You right to go?
Ready to go.
Don't you love the pressure? I'm going to start my countdown timer now. We're away. Jason Wambold, who is your ideal client at Onus One?
The ideal client for us is a practice owner or executive or administrator who has already made the mental commitment to alter their compensation models, but just hasn't started that process or taken the first step.
And you're international. You're just not US. So this works anywhere.
Yep, that's correct. It works anywhere.
So question 2. So what's the problem you solve? What's the problem with their compensation models?
Well, the problem that we solve is, I think just about everybody agrees that we need to do something in the rehab industry to change the way we're compensating professionals. The problem is taking that first step. And so the problem that we're solving is we've put together a library of resources and all sorts of tools to enable those individuals to actually be able to take that first step and start to move forward in that direction.
So question 3 then, with 6 minutes left. So what's the typical symptoms people experience when they don't have their compensation model worked out?
Well, usually the typical symptom is related to the reason why they don't take that first step. And there are 3 reasons. The first is fear. The second is lack of time. And the third is lack of knowledge. It could be a combination, of course, of those 3, but those are typically the primary symptoms that we see, or the reasons why a practice, a company, an organization doesn't move in this direction, even though they may agree and believe that ultimately that's the right thing to do.
And we're talking about here, Jason, the problem with therapists being paid just a straight percentage of their revenue or an hourly rate. That's because we don't know any other options.
Yes, the challenge, the pain point is that most companies and practices take a one-size-fits-none approach where we've got one option and it usually isn't the right fit for anybody. For some people, it's too robust. For some, it isn't enough. For some people, it's too risky. For others, it isn't risky enough. So that's really one of the primary issues that we're addressing.
Okay, so what are the common mistakes people make when they're trying to solve this problem, Jason? What do we do wrong?
Well, if we look at those 3 barriers and we take them one at a time, if we look at fear first, what people most commonly will do wrong is, if fear is the barrier, is they will do nothing. And they will just continue to do what they've always done. Even though they know it's not working, they won't make a change. The second is lack of time. One of the mistakes is rushing the process. I don't have time to really invest in this. I have too many other things on my plate. I know I need to make a change, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it. But I rush the process. And that almost always invariably results in a poor outcome. And then the third one that I mentioned is lack of knowledge. And so usually that is an accidental mistake. And very often a mistake that a practice owner or executive might not even know they're making. They may have missed very key components, even compliance components that should be included into that program, but simply because they don't know what they don't know, they might end up making the mistake of not including those features.
Okay, and I suppose too, owners are scared if they change the model, if they change the way they pay their team members, the team won't get on board. They'll
Yes.
leave, and then they won't be able to recruit people. That's a big fear, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And when we talk about fear as a barrier, that's exactly the type of fear that becomes the major barrier.
Okay, so what's a valuable free action? What can our listeners and viewers do? What can they implement to help them get this ball rolling? What can they do to help their models?
Well, I think the first thing that they have to do is really think about why they want to make a change and what their goal is. We learned long ago in this process that while it is true that just about everybody agrees we need to change compensation models, the reasons why we need to change may be very different, or the perception of why we should change may be very different from one owner to the next. One owner might just be interested in more personal freedom and flexibility. Another might be interested in not having to be so hands-on with managing employees. Another owner might be interested in boosting the bottom line or managing payroll costs. So think about what your goal is, and don't lose sight of that. Keep your eye on that as you go through the process and start changing your models.
Okay, so question 6 with a bit over 2 minutes left. So what's a valuable free resource, Jason? What can our listeners and viewers do to find out more information, or what can they do? What can they access?
Well, as soon as we think about why we need to change these models, it's very easy for our minds to then go to why it won't work. We start thinking about things like retention, recruitment, PTO, paid time off, vacation time. How are all these things handled? What about raises? So we can sort of get lost in the weeds. So what you might want to do is start with educating yourself on some of these things. And we have a lot of resources on the website to help with some of those potential initial objections or pain points, specifically going to our website, onus-one.com, onus-one.com, and clicking on the frequently asked questions link at the top and our blogs. Both of those two resources will answer a lot of those questions and lay out some of the options that are available, because this is not a one-size-fits-all approach for anybody.
What I love, because you've just addressed a problem. Like we just pay people, and we do it how we were paid or how other people pay people. We don't really think about alternatives, and we wonder why we can't find or retain staff, and not everyone wants the same thing.
Yep.
I love what you've done.
Thank you.
So question 7 with a bit over a minute left. So what's the one question I should have asked you, Jason, about this that will give our listeners and viewers great value? What did I miss?
So I would say probably the home run question is, what is the one feature that you could introduce at your company, at your practice, that would change the game for you from a compensation standpoint? And the answer to that is offering choice. Don't just offer one plan. Offer at least 2, perhaps 3, each plan having relative different features available, different relative levels of risk and reward, and allow your employees to change potentially over time, maybe re-enroll once a year as their life circumstances change. That's the single most powerful thing we can do for this generation of workforce, is to offer them that freedom and flexibility and choice.
I love it. Where do they go to get the information, Jason? What was the website again?
So the website is onus-one.com, onus-one.com. And they can also, anybody that's interested or has any questions can also email me directly. And my email is jwambold@onus-one.com. So it's jwambold@onus-one.com.
Jason, I love what you're doing. I love the way you're giving us some alternatives in this. And I love the whole session we're doing on recruitment for this reason. So, mate, thanks for joining us. Loved it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Paul.
Now, make sure if you haven't registered already, make sure you log on for our next Practiceology demonstration webinar. Just go to mypracticeology.com. See you in the next episode.